Barriers to Employment, Part 2. In November 2025, Assist made a film of disabled and neurodivergent people talking about barriers to employment. This was shared at the Staffordshire Disability and Neurodivergence Partnership Board. The full version of the film is 38 minutes long. We have re-edited the footage into 3 shorter, themed videos. This is Part 2. It includes people talking about reasonable adjustments and internal processes.
I was also going to say, when you challenge people about accessibility and stuff like that, the first thing they bring up is cost, because they assume that everything's going to cost money.
Reasonable adjustments often don't cost a lot.
No.
But I think people are frightened when you hear the term reasonable adjustments. But equally, when there is a cost, there's the Access to Work scheme. It doesn't necessarily cover the entire cost of adaptations, but it will give a contribution towards adaptations, but people don't seem to be aware of it.
It's like I am able, even if it is classed as disability, just because I am disabled doesn't mean I can't do anything. And with the adjustments and with, you can thrive if you've been given a lot of chances, and adjustments can be made. So never really bin anybody off straight away, because it's just give time, because everybody needs time to develop and grow, and if somebody needs that, like a couple more months, let them, because then they can go on and do really great things.
Access to specific places, like to attend meetings, so they would have meetings upstairs where in buildings where there was no lift, so that I couldn't actually get to that particular meeting. So simply, if the meetings were on the ground floor and there was plenty of rooms to do that, it wouldn't be a problem. But other line managers would say, oh, we've got to meet in this office upstairs, and I'd just not be able to attend that meeting, and that doesn't cost anything at all.
Or doing it over Zoom or Teams, whatever the company use, something like that, because we managed over COVID.
Yeah, and the original office was obviously in a building. It's an old building, but it did have a lift, and we were up 2 or 3 flights of stairs, which wasn't a problem when I first started. And then over time I started using the lift. Then we were moved to a new office, and the line manager said to me, oh, we're going to be upstairs in this building, but there's no lift, but don't worry, we've got you an office on the ground floor. And I thought, oh, that's good, he's making reasonable adjustments. I thought he actually always caring about me as a person. And then what I found was all my team were upstairs and I was isolated downstairs, so I missed all the bits of information that they were getting in the morning, because there was I wasn't able to get upstairs to see them. On the other hand, my line manager, who had his office upstairs, never actually came to visit me at all downstairs. I was always trying to chase him, but he never actually once came down to my office to discuss things. So that made things difficult as well.
Because he assumed what you needed without actually asking, and that can often be the problem. People make assumptions about the adjustments that are needed without actually asking the individual, because everybody's different and we don't need all the same adjustments. I see things as black and white. They're either right or wrong, but often employers have a lot of grey areas, which makes it difficult to navigate their expectations.
I got an ankle injury, because of my cerebral palsy. My legs aren't the strongest, so I had a bit of ligament issue. So I was off for a week, and I came back and I found my name had been highlighted with sales targets not met. And I said, how could I possibly have sold anything while I was at home on doctor's orders, in bed, or resting my leg? So then luckily, well, for me anyway, luckily the company went into administration, so I think it was anything under 2 years were let go, so that made it easy for me because I was going to resign anyway.
So there's also that there are different ways of trying to get support, and there's basically there are poor internal processes to make changes, even small changes, and the process they go through. So going through personnel, going through line manager, it just takes a long time for that to happen. And certainly in things like timetabling, which are done at a higher level, if your line manager knows all the problems you've got, you then may get inappropriate timetabling. So instead of being like sat or lecturing, I'd be given like an outdoor activity to help with the horticulture group or whatever, which I was unable to actually do. And then, it's because you're the only person who's available to go in that slot to support that person. So those things, they just took a long time to sort of sort out, even months rather than weeks to sort out.
And people will come back and it's just you're being difficult. They don't actually listen to what you're trying to say. They use their own interpretation of it and just see it as we're trying to be awkward. And actually, if they listen to what we were saying and used our abilities and our strengths, it will be a much better outcome for everyone.
They'd refused to reduce hours when I was coming back from sickness, and also in terms of the type of work that I had to do. So if I asked, while I'm recovering, can I do like more tutorial work, such as sitting down one-to-one or in groups? And they said no, because that doesn't require enough preparation time. So if somebody else gave you their tutorials, they'd have to sort of do more work. So it was just a complicated issue.
Again, employers just wanted to take the easy option. It's not fair, but unfortunately it's what happens.
And it's no different on the spectrum whether you're a private or public company neither.
No.
And it doesn't matter on size neither. I mean, whether you're a NHS provider or whether you're a small little company, round the corner. Unfortunately, I think the attitude is within a bigger company is more prevalent than it is if you're in a smaller company.
I think the thing is with larger companies, yes, they have all these centralised policies that they do this, that and the other, but when you get to the individual units or places, individual shops or factories or whatever, it's very reliant on the manager there. So although their company policy says that they support disabled people and they will make these adjustments, unless the manager or team leader of the department are interested, it doesn't get done. You're just a nuisance, you're just not effective, so they don't bother doing it. And then if you try to follow it up by going through personnel and all this sort of thing, and then you're a problem maker, so they get rid of you because you're a problem maker by just trying to stand up for your own rights.
It's more like you're a liability rather than an asset, and that's how they see it. So they don't, rather than make the adjustments and help everybody, and we all work together as a team. It's you're a nuisance. You're making problems. Don't need you. Let's get rid of that person. Let's get somebody in that we don't have to have all these issues with. You know what I mean? So it's not a nice experience.
You're sort of reluctant to mention a problem. So I had fatigue because I had to work twice as hard to sort of catch up. And then my personnel officer said, she suggested I take some energy drinks because I was fatigued. I could not believe that.
Well, one of my previous employers told me I worked too hard. And that was an issue because it made everybody else look bad. But I basically started at my start time and I finished at my finish time. That's what you're meant to do. But I worked too hard and made other people look bad.
Each sort of absence that you had that was more than 3 days, that would count as like a red flag.
Yeah.
And then you were only allowed like 3 red flags, and then you were like on a warning to lose your job. There was one situation where I wasn't well, but I fulfilled all my lectures. And on 3 days, I actually just went home early. I'd done my lecturing, I went home early. And then the following week, they'd actually got me down as 3 strikes. And I said, why? And they said, well, you've had 3 absences in that week. And I said, well, what if I'd had the week off? Then it would just be 1 absence. It just didn't make sense. I'd worked really hard to make sure that I fulfilled what I needed to do. And they were saying, oh, well, you can't do that. That counts as more than 3 absences if you're going short out, like, on each day. And it's just, yeah. I think in the end, they were sort of setting me up to fail in the end.